Let's just be honest here in our media sphere and accept the fact that there's very little legitimate criticism of U.S. President Donald Trump. Now, the mainstream media literally turned into the Looney Tunes show, going off conspiracy theories, talking about Russia. And even just by watching this video, you will see that this whole Russian collusion is not true at all. The alternative media usually is afraid to criticize him because of the backlash, but as an independent media organization is more important than ever, especially now, when literally our former CIA head and the Secretary of State is saying that Trump is, quote, the chosen person by God to help save the Jewish people. And I believe there's a lot of criticism here, Jason, that does deserve to be talked about when it comes to Trump's latest statement about the Golan Heights. Now, if you don't know what the Golan Heights region, it was a territory of Syria since 1944. After the Six-Day War between Israel in 1967, it became a contested territory which Israel occupied. No country in the world has recognized Israel's occupation of the Golan Heights region until Donald Trump made the announcement that the Golan Heights region is, of course, Israeli. Now, also, at the same time, we had top U.S. generals saying that they should be prepared to fight because this is not only just a very controversial decision, not just a very loud declaration, but also one with very grave geopolitical implications. As a top U.S. general says, get ready, because this is most likely going to stir a conflict, as Syria is officially saying that they will vow every possible means to liberate the Golan Heights region, which they say is theirs. Russia is saying that they will never let Israel steal Syria's Golan Heights from them. That's an official statement. And we even have a statement from one of the Democratic presidential candidates, Tulsi Gabbard, which I think is important here, saying, quote, another example of Trump and Netanyahu putting their own political interests ahead of the interests of our respective countries. Will escalate tensions and likelihood of war between Israel, U.S., Syria, Iran, Russia, short-sighted. And I am definitely, I definitely agree with what Tulsi Gabbard says here. And Jason, I kind of wanted to open it up to you because obviously we have Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State, invoking God during this decision. We have Donald Trump talking about, securing U.S. national interest. Again, there's nothing really national about this. Let's talk about also the oil with Genin Energy, the company that, of course, Jared Kushner is connected to, Trump's son-in-law. There's also Rothschild and Murdoch trying to, of course, pump oil in that very oil-rich region. There's a lot more than what, of course, you're being told about this larger declaration that Donald Trump has made, right, Jason?
Yeah, by far. This has been in the works. This is not new. I'm pretty shocked that he decided to make the declaration so close to what we thought was going to be the end of this Syrian conflict, especially by his own mouth. He's been talking about getting us out for months. We recently defeated ISIS yet again. And I think it was decided many, many years ago that, hey, we're going to take this oil. We already knew it. Back in the 70s, I believe it was 1973, Syria tried to take that region back with a surprise attack, was not able to do so. And we have these reports, Luke. These are coming back from 1997. So well before this declaration, okay? Genie Energy, Murdoch interests, Rothschild interests, Cheney
Jared
interests.
Kushner connections as well.
Yes, absolutely. All these people had already financially put into this region, said, we're taking the oil, no big deal. In fact, it was so predictable that even Global Research last May knew that Trump was going to recognize Israel's claim to the occupied Golan Heights region and its sizable oil reserves. See, that's what this is truly about. Sure, it's about geopolitical placement. That region is a border region, so it is very militarily strategic. But what's the real value there? The oil, the money, the power. And, you have this clip I think that we should play right now of Trump talking.
But before we get into that, Jason, let me just kind of make another point here. But this story does highlight a lot of important issues, but also a lot of mainstream media hypocrisy. We see Donald Trump and Jared Kushner scorned by the mainstream media, attacked on so many issues, but not this one. Why aren't we talking about Genie and oil? Why aren't we talking about that very important issue? Why aren't we talking about the nepotism, the collusion on this very specific issue? And they don't want to touch it. Again, this is a complete blindside to a lot of Trump followers who were like, yes, Trump's doing the right thing. He's going to bring the troops back from Syria. Now this is the complete opposite stance that the United States geopolitically has, of course, becoming more of an adversary towards Russia. The mainstream media, again, CNN, lives for 3 years now, lives on the fact that Trump colluded with Russia. Trump colluded with Russia. Trump is a Russian puppet. Trump couldn't be elected if it wasn't for Russia. I'm watching MSNBC. Absolute lunatics. Lunatic. We've been calling out this whole Russian collusion for a very long time. Right now, the United States is directly putting itself against Russian geopolitical interest in a military way, in a very dangerous way. They did it in so many instances. They did it in Ukraine with Donald Trump arming Ukraine with lethal weapons, something Donald Trump was afraid to do. Donald Trump did. And they're still daring on the mainstream media saying, no, there's still some collusion. No. There's a reason. Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, is literally talking about the latest and best weaponry he has and how it could be used against the United States. He literally has press conferences with the United States map saying, no, we have this weapon. Look, we're going to send it here. Openly talking about just mutual assured annihilation, which of course would be possible here with the two world powers that have been against each other. Again, the Cold War ended, but geopolitically, there's still a bigger war that's happening here, especially amongst resources, especially amongst oil. And it's not just that. It's also a lot bigger than just that. But let's play the clip about oil, Jason.
It'll be beautiful. And I'd ring it, and I'd take the oil. And I said, I'll take the oil.
Well, I'm not looking to quagmire. I'm looking to take the oil. I want to take the oil. I want the oil. And I've been saying that for a long time.
Take the oil. If we would have taken the oil, I would take the oil. Right. You heard me. I would take the oil. Why don't we just take over the oil? We should take it over. We should be running the oil. You know, a few very smart people said, oh, that war is really smart because we're going to take over the oil. You know, in the old days, you'd have a war, and you'd win the war. And to the victor belong the spoils. You know that. Bomb the oil, take the oil. 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 Just take it.
I like how oil. He's just going to take somebody else's oil, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, those are very simplistic comments, and he made those comments directly, not for Syria, not for the Golan Heights region. He made that argument specifically for Iraq and criticisms of the Iraq war, which, again, this is a president that is very, very hyperbolic. I mean, let's just call it for what it is. I mean, this is not a good move. This is a stupid move. This is putting U.S. troops, U.S. national security, us on the forefront for absolutely no benefit at all. This doesn't make America great again. This doesn't put America first again. This doesn't help anything but complicate the geopolitical region and create more conflict in that region, possibly invoking even a bigger conflict with, of course, the global kind of alliances that have been set. This is an escalation, and sadly, holy cow, no one's talking about it, Jason, which is absolutely maddening.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is, Luke, that this is a real escalation, and Assad has basically vowed that they will use every possible means to liberate that region. Well, since Russia is an outward ally of Assad in Syria, you can bet that they're going to start getting involved even more heavily in that region. So all this talk about Russia electing Trump seems to be out the window. This could be a very hot conflict. We already had Russian mercenaries killed by U.S. forces. Big hush-hush in the United States. We know talky about that. No one wants to talk about that. Yeah. I'm just saying, before Russia got involved, ISIS was all over that country. Within 3 months, 75% of that was done. We honestly thought this conflict was going to come to an end possibly last year, especially when Trump was talking about it. Then we had that big surprise where we had to do a missile strike, Luke. And ever since then, it's been in the backdrop, on the background. Well, I got to tell you, with him now declaring that region with no reason whatsoever to be Israel's, with him now attacking Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris as anti-Jewish, because they don't want to go to the APAC conference and they're boycotting it. Listen, it's a lobbying organization. If you're against Israeli policy, especially in Syria, why would you go to that? Why would you endorse it? I don't disagree with Bernie on that.
It's a right-wing lobbyist organization. They're not right-wingers. They're on the left wing. They're Democrats. So why would you openly shill for a right-wing organization? There's left-wing Israeli organizations that, of course, again, this is absolute lunacy. And again, I'm happy you brought up how close we've been to war so many different times, whether it was Turkey bombing a Russian aircraft, whether it was the United States killing Russian mercenaries. There's been other mercenaries from all different parts of the world killed in that region. This region, the conflict started when Israel, the United States, and Saudi Arabia started arming and funding the protesters, the rebel groups, the supposed freedom fighters, as they were declared by the mainstream media. Well, guess what? Those freedom fighters turned out to be radical Islamic jihadis. And the Golan Heights region was actually a refueling place for a lot of these radical elements, where it's been released. And I've been talking about this for a while with photos, with videos, with international organizations coming out and saying, hey, radical Islamists and ISIS are literally going to the Golan Heights region to get medical care and get armed. And that's been documented so many different times. And this is where it happened. And that's why this is such an important piece of territory that, of course, they're vying for. And this has always been on the chopping block. This has always been kind of contested territory for decades now. And now they're seeing this as an opportunity to go in and take it right as everything's calming down. Right as ISIS, there's I've been seeing videos of ISIS just surrendering by large, huge numbers. Just as this conflict is subsiding, just when you think finally there's going to be peace, no. There's not. There's going to be more aggression. It's going to be continued, and it's absolutely asinine. I mean, for frick's sakes, I mean, we finally have a chance for Syria to be Syria. We finally have a chance to not have any murder, any death, any massive radicalization in that area. And then what happens? Bam, another large escalation. 2 steps forwards, 1 step back. That 1 step back was Donald Trump promising to bring troops back. Well, that turned out not to be true. 2 steps forwards. Now we're going to take the Golan Heights region. That is Donald Trump's foreign policy. Confusion amongst his supporters saying, yes, he's going to bring the troops home. Yes, he's going to do the right thing and just concentrate on defeating ISIS. No. 1 step backwards, 2 steps forwards. Always keep that in mind when you're looking at Donald Trump's policy. That's what I have to say on this matter. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Jason, anything else you want to say, and do you want to end it?
Yeah, I just want to let people know that on top of all of this, you have Mike Pompeo, who you mentioned in the beginning of this video segment, in Lebanon right now as we are hitting Iran with new sanctions. Okay.
Let's do a separate video on this. Because I think we're over 10 minutes. I mean, his comments, we could do a whole video on Pompeo now. I mean, Trump was chosen by God to help save the Jewish people. There's no reason to believe that.
I just want to point out he's in Lebanon because of Hamas influence, which obviously is Israel's main enemy in that region. So there's a lot going on. We have to pay attention. Folks, we're doing 4 videos a day. We're doing 1 on the main channel, 3 on the backup. Please like, share, subscribe, hit those notifications, and most importantly, be the change you want to see in the world.